Hey, you're welcome to the Last Post channel. Do well to like, comment, and subscribe.
It's 2019. Somewhere in Florida, a man is sitting at his computer, scrolling through Google Earth, not looking for anything in particular, just looking, zooming in on a neighborhood he used to call home, a quiet street, a retention pond he'd probably walked past 100 times, and then he sees something that shouldn't be there. He leans in closer. What he's about to find will end a mystery that started 22 years earlier, one that no detective, no search party, and no amount of traditional police work could ever solve. This is the story of William Moldt, and this is the last post. William Moldt was 40 years old. He lived in Lantana, Florida, a small town tucked along the state's southeastern coast, the kind of place where everybody's neighbor knew everybody else. By most accounts, William was unremarkable in the best way. Steady, well-liked. He had a girlfriend he was serious about. He had routines. He had a life that looked, from the outside, like it was simply continuing. November 8th, 1997 started like any other Saturday. William went out that evening to a nightclub in nearby Boynton Beach. Nothing unusual, nothing that suggested anything was wrong. He wasn't the type to vanish. He wasn't running from anything. He had every reason to come home that night. Sometime after midnight, William left the club. Witnesses would later confirm he wasn't intoxicated. He was simply calling a night, like thousands of other people do on any given Saturday. He walked out alone toward his car, and then he did something completely ordinary. He picked up his cell phone, a rarity for the time, a small brick of a device, and called his girlfriend. He told her he was heading home. Nothing urgent in his voice. Nothing that hinted this would be the last time she'd ever hear from him. Just a man telling the person he loved that he'd see her soon. He never arrived. Somewhere between that nightclub parking lot and his front door, a drive that should have taken minutes, William Moldt disappeared. No crash was reported. No struggle was found. No witnesses saw anything unusual happen along his route home. His car was gone. He was gone. And there was nothing, no trace, no clue, not even a single confirmed sighting, to explain what happened in those missing minutes. It was as if the road itself had simply swallowed him whole. When William didn't come home, his girlfriend did exactly what anyone would do. She called the police. And in the days that followed, a missing persons investigation opened. One that, on paper, had almost nothing to work with. No crime scene, no physical evidence, no suspect, just a man who had said goodnight, and then ceased to exist. Investigators pursued the obvious angles first. Was this voluntary? Some people do simply walk away from their lives, but everything about William's circumstances argued against it. He had no financial troubles serious enough to run from, no history of instability, a relationship he was invested in. People who disappear on purpose usually leave signs. William left none. Was it foul play? Detectives considered it. But with no scene, no evidence, and no leads, there was nothing to build a case around. Was it an accident? Possible. But if his car had gone off the road somewhere nearby, where was it? As weeks turned into months, the case did what so many missing persons cases do. It went quiet. Flyers went up around Lantana and Boynton Beach. William's face, a phone number, a plea for information. Rain and sun took their toll on the paper long before anyone took a toll on the truth. His family kept pushing, kept calling, kept hoping that someone, somewhere, had seen something. But as is so often the case with cold missing persons files, the tips slowed to a trickle and then to nothing at all. Here's something that rarely makes it into true crime stories, but deserves to be said plainly. Most missing persons cases like William's don't get solved. Not in a week, not in a year. Sometimes, not ever. For William Moldt's family, the not knowing stretched from months into years, and the years stretched into decades. 1997 became 2000. 2000 became 2010. The case, technically, remained open. Practically, It had gone cold in every sense of the word. 22 years is a long time to wait for an answer that may never come. A few miles from where William was last seen sat a quiet retention pond, the kind you'd find in almost any Florida suburb. Unremarkable, overlooked, the kind of place hundreds of people drive past every single day without a second glance. No one had any reason to suspect it held the answer everyone had been searching for. Which brings us back to 2019. A former resident of the area, someone with no connection to case, no investigative background, nothing but a passing familiarity with the neighborhood, was doing something millions of people do every day, idly exploring Google Earth. He zoomed in on the pond near his old home, and there, beneath the surface, was a shape that didn't belong. A rectangular outline, too straight, too deliberate, too much like a car. He looked closer. The more he looked, the less it looked like a trick of the light or a shadow on the water. It looked exactly like what it was. Rather than call it immediately, he reached out to someone who actually lived on the pond now, a homeowner who happened to own a drone. Together, they decided to check for themselves before involving anyone else. The drone lifted off, glided low over the still water, and as the camera's angle shifted, the shape below the surface came into sharper focus. It wasn't a trick of the light. It wasn't debris. It was unmistakably a car, submerged, undisturbed, sitting at the bottom of a pond that thousands of people had driven past for 22 years without ever knowing what it was hiding. They called the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office. Divers were sent to the scene, and what they found confirmed what the drone footage had already suggested. A vehicle matching the description of William Moldt's car, resting at the bottom of the pond that had entered more than 2 decades earlier. The recovery was slow, deliberate, respectful. Inside the vehicle, investigators found remains that would ultimately be confirmed through forensic identification to be William Moldt. 22 years after he told his girlfriend he was coming home, William Moldt's family finally had an answer, not the one they'd hoped for, but an answer all the same, something that had been agonizingly out of reach for over 2 decades, found not through a break in the case, not through a new witness, not through advanced forensic technology, found because someone on an ordinary day happened to look a little closer at a satellite photograph. The recovery was slow, deliberate, respectful. Inside the vehicle, investigators found remains that would ultimately be confirmed through forensic identification to be William Moldt. 22 years after he told his girlfriend he was coming home, William Moldt's family finally had an answer, not the one they'd hoped for, but an answer all the same, something that had been agonizingly out of reach for over 2 decades, found not through a break in the case, not through a new witness, not through advanced forensic technology, found because someone on an ordinary day happened to look a little closer at a satellite photograph. That's the world this channel lives in. A world where a final post, a last login, a satellite photograph, or a passing glance at a map can hold the answer to a question that's haunted a family for decades. The internet didn't just change how people vanish. It changed how they're found. If you're new here, this is the last post, where we dig into the digital footprints left behind when someone disappears, and the strange, sometimes accidental ways those footprints lead back to the truth. Next week, we're covering a case that gripped an entire online community for 17 years, a man who checked into a motel under a fake name, and the strangers on the internet who refused to let his story go untold. If this case stayed with you, hit subscribe. Thanks for watching The Last Post.
Hey, thank you for watching.